Addiction is rarely about just the substance or just the behavior. It's often a symptom of deeper underlying causes, which are a complex interaction of psychological, neurobiological, and social factors. I'm a clinical psychologist working in the addiction sphere, and I'm going to talk about 7 of these in this video. Number 1, trauma. Often trauma, and this could be childhood trauma, a significant event that's happened in adulthood, could be underlying addiction. So addictive behaviors or substances can be a way to cope with negative feelings, numb emotional pain, avoid painful memories, and escape difficult feelings. So this is a really understandable way of coping with this trauma. Number 2, unmet emotional needs. Sometimes there are attachment needs, emotional needs that are underlying addiction. So alcohol, for example, can sometimes represent a reliable, self-soothing, caring attachment figure. And if we don't have someone in our life that is soothing, that does care for us, that can nurture the painful feelings that we feel, then we can sometimes turn to substances, turn to addictive behaviors in order to self-soothe, to cope, to go through those feelings. Number 3, social isolation. So you may have heard of Johann Hari's work in addiction, and he talks a lot about how the opposite of addiction is connection. Addiction often thrives in social isolation. It pushes us towards being on our own, away from other people, pulls us into shame, self-criticism. In order to conquer this, what we need is genuine and authentic connection with other people. And so by this, we mean that often loneliness or shame can kind of keep us stuck with substances, with addictive behaviors. So he talks about the opposite of addiction being connection. And so in order to meet this need and reduce reliance on addiction, we need deep and fulfilling, meaningful relationships, genuine, authentic connection. Number 4, high stress. So when we're feeling a lot of stress, we feel this really in our body. We feel on edge, kind of keyed up. And if we feel this kind of chronic stress, chronic tension, this can lead us to substances or addictive behaviors in order to feel that relief and to kind of reduce those difficult feelings. Number 5, negative and anxious thoughts, or what we call cognitive patterns. So alongside addictive behaviors, sometimes we have negative thoughts like I'm not good enough, anxious thoughts like I can't cope without this, that come with addiction and kind of keep us stuck in feeling like we need these substances or we need these addictive behaviors in order to go through this social event or to cope with the escape from those difficult negative thoughts. But actually in the long term, while it provides some temporary relief, temporary escape, it actually reinforces this pattern of avoidance or self-criticism, when actually our thoughts aren't facts. This, just because we think it doesn't mean this is true. Actually, we're really worthy of love, of connection, and we're just coping the best we can at the moment. Sometimes this is about survival. Number 6, social, economic, and cultural factors. So social determinants like poverty, lack of access to healthcare, discrimination, racism, inequities, all lead to a chronic stress response that's really held in our body. And this can be through your personal experiences or from intergenerational trauma. And all of this stress really leads to a vulnerability for coping with these experiences through addiction. Number 7, genetics and neurobiology. So neurobiology can often play a role because substances hijack the brain's dopamine system, giving us these really good feelings, a rush of these really good feelings, but these feelings come down. And so this gets us stuck in this cycle of seeking these good feelings, seeking this dopamine. Also, genetics can play a role. So sometimes we can be genetically predisposed to addiction because of family history of addiction. Also, there could be some family role modeling in the house. So if mum and dad coped with stress with alcohol, for example, when we were a child, sometimes we learn then that we cope with stress through this way. In closing, addiction is not just a bad habit, but actually a really understandable coping mechanism to cope with all of these factors, to get rid of this pain. So in order for healing, you need to really address the emotional wound in order to learn new ways to self-soothe, learn healthy coping mechanisms, process any past trauma, so that we're leading a life that is meaningful and a life in which we don't need to escape. If you are interested in learning some more quick tactics to cope with really big urges for alcohol, you can watch this other video.